think it's back up. Okay, so how do we know when we are asking for something that we need, how do we actually know when the guides are listening to us and when they are assisting us in the manifestations? So this is very important because the guides can't actually do anything for us. So the guides can sit there and they can help us in certain signs and synchronicities. It's kind of like guiding us from behind the curtain without actually doing the work for us. So when we start to allow the guides, we work with the signs and synchronicities, and then all of a sudden you have to realize what the guides are actually doing is they are changing or modifying your magnetism to allow such manifestations to come to you. Now, from personal experience, this is a solid fact. The star people have actually changed my magnetism several times to help me so that I wouldn't manifest a destruction in my life or a cycle ending shift. So, stuff like that. Now, when they did that, if we hold the emotion of whatever trauma that caused the imbalance in our energetic grid, if we hold that trauma-based emotion, the imbalance comes right back. And then all of a sudden, the manifestation is still going to be whatever it is that we are manifesting. So they can try and help us. And now what the star people said when they did that with me is they said it is being blocked by the higher self, because they went and they changed the magnetism in the ego-based grids, which is okay too. Now, when we start to realize that every single, and I'm telling you, it's every single thought, every single feeling, every emotion, every body ache and pain, it's all being monitored. It's all being censored. Not censored. It's being monitored and observed. The star people are saying, they're correcting me. So now the second that you know this, that means that you can actually start to speak to the star people directly, and you can start to ask them for guidance and assistance. Now, many times when we start to embody any type of channeling, that channeling comes forward, and that channeling is by us, and that voice inside of our mind starts to activate. And you guys, when you start to channel the star people, start asking that voice inside your mind questions that you would not know the answer to. When we start to ask questions and we wouldn't know the answer to it, then all of a sudden it allows them to actually communicate with us. And so they will give you full-blown answers. They will give you science. They will give you spiritual knowledge that you would not have otherwise have known. So there's many different things that happen, but you have to release the resistance and just be okay if they don't make contact or communication. A lot of times they can also trigger an emotion. And so it feels wonderful, because if you've ever been heart-to-heart hugged, that's how it feels with the star people. It feels like they are sending a heart chakra blast, and it makes your entire body feel warm. So it is a love-based emotional frequency that they can send. Now, once again, every single chakra can send energy. So when we start to talk about energetic bonding, now, if you guys have ever seen an animal with its owner, over the course of so many years, that animal starts to look like the owner. The two start to blend in energetics. And then all of a sudden, if the animal gets sick, it's an indication that the owner has an imbalance in the grid, because that imbalance is radiating out. Their energetic grids become bonded like this. And then, of course, the smaller life form is going to take on that distortion. A distortion is like a disease or something that goes wrong. Now, when we start to talk about distortions, a paper cut can be a distortion. A bruise can also be a distortion, because there must be something in the energetic grid that has an imbalance caused by an emotion or a reoccurring thought pattern. When we start to see that, it reflects out, or even casting. So if you guys are like jealous of other people, or you're casting negativity or cursing in traffic, it actually reflects out. It touches into your energetic grids, and then all of a sudden it reflects back at your physical form. This is why they say what you put out into the universe, you get back. Because when it reflects out and it comes back, it manifests distortions in you because of the emotions that you personally are projecting. So energetic casting is a very important thing. And the second that we recognize that, it If somebody makes you angry, you kind of always want to just take a step back, go inside, and start asking yourself and pulling apart the experience. Why did I have this experience with this person? Why did I witness this anger? Why was it cast at me, even if I didn't do anything? When you start to realize, oh, okay, sometimes we have, by the law of polarity, the star people are saying, you must be the victim and you must be the perpetrator. And so this goes because it's a positive and a negative. Forget the wording that we're using. It has to be a positive and a negative. You have to be the one doing it and you have to be the one receiving it. So anytime we have an experiential, that experiential is something that you are meant to do. And so it is a regular experience with any person, place, or thing in the holographic simulation. So when we start to see an experience, we must experience it, and then we must witness either other people experiencing it, or we have to witness the exact opposite. And so you guys can have a look in your own lives and see where that has played out. You may have gone through something, and then all of a sudden you manifested somebody in your life who is going through something that you have already been through. And so at that point, you become support for that person. This is how the system works, because it's the law of polarity. Now, when we can recognize that and we can start to hold neutral. So neutral is no emotions of positive or negative polarity. This is it can be difficult to do, but when you start to come inside and you're okay with any experience being manifest, it then in turn allows new manifestations to come into your life. Because the second that you become neutral, what you're actually doing is you're opening up an energetic node or vortex. And that energetic node is where the ley lines and the meridians crisscross in the energetic grids. So we need to open up 144 of those total to actually rise into 5D frequencies. Now, this is very important because we have to have 144 experiences. Well, we've been alive on this planet for so long, 144 experiences, that should be very easy, but you have to go in and heal them. So you have to experience a negative, and then you have to experience a positive. Now, many times this happens automatically. We don't even realize how many we have open. We would actually need some sort of technology, or we would need an individual who can see or sense or feel the energetic grid structure to allow them to pinpoint which one of the vortexes is open. Now, many times we can go in and we could do fine tuning on the vortex system, which we start to do things like acupuncture. And the acupuncture, that chart that they have, that's the vortex system. And so when we start to work inside the vortexes, you may notice a manifestation of whatever polarity experiential will manifest when you start to tune into that one vortex. So let's say, for an example, you had an experience that was negative. And so the second you have the acupuncture, let's say it's right here, you may notice that that emotion code from that negative experience, all of a sudden, a positive comes into your life. Or you may see it from the opposite polarity. That's how the system works. So things of Oriental medicine is of high value, because when we can start to recognize, okay, well, this is how the energetic grids work, and we can tune in and we can heal all the traumas, do the shadow work, then all of a sudden it actually allows us to evolve more rapidly. 5D is readily available right now. So we can actually tune into 5D frequencies by holding pure love, joy, and bliss. This is the reason why many times people will tell you, follow your highest passion, because your highest passion is going to actually activate the energetic grids. So what happens when we are in our highest passion? You can actually tell or sense. You normally would say, oh, that person she's lit up or she's glowing. And that's because they get super excited and happy and vibrant when they are doing something that they actively are engaged in loving. And so what happens is we're pulling more of the source frequency down and it radiates out. Now, the Orientals call this shenning. And so when we shen, we are following our highest passion and we are being of service to the collective most of the times. Excellent. Welcome, Key Intention, Sugar Sweet. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. So the next question, how would we know if we were close to seeing a big picture manifestation? And what are some tips? Now, a big picture manifestation, you're going to start to see reflections. And so those reflections are going to look like and I've done this several times in my life where we we tried to win the lottery. The star people were like, "You have to stop doing that because it was going to happen," and I know it was going to happen because I started seeing big reflections. The New York lottery went up to like $500 million when we were doing this. We were utilizing the power of three, and it was like it kept going up and up and up. And then at the last day, I was like, I don't want to win. And then bam, somebody else won. But I knew in my heart that that was meant for me because we started seeing it everywhere. All of the people in the hologram started talking about it too. It was like, oh, do you see the Mega Millions? Like everyone, everywhere. That's a reflection. And so let's just say, for example, actually, me and you guys on Facebook, we did a manifestation, I think it was like a month ago, and we were like, everyone should have a house. Everyone should have food. Everyone's basic needs should be covered. Well, I'm starting to see reflections on that right now, talking about giving people money just to have a house and food and like the basic needs be covered. So when we start to place our focus, our conscious focus and awareness on different manifestations, especially when we're doing it in groups of how many more, 3 or more people, then all of a sudden we're going to start to see it reflect into the simulation. So whenever we start to see these things, we know, okay, it's coming, it is going to manifest. Just keep putting your focus. But once again, we have to hold that neutrality. And that neutrality is really like putting your faith in your life into the higher self's hands. And so many times we'll start to do things like in 2019, this was a good example. In 2019, we didn't have money. My entire life got shifted from upside down. Everything was gone. And so we were in a car and then we would do Uber. And so when we needed money, we Ubered and then we had instantaneous money and then we got food but everything just worked out. It all fell into our laps. So when we start to hold that frequency and go into neutral and just know and believe all of my needs are being met. Now, anybody who's going through a transformation in their lives, you guys should make that a mantra, right? All of my needs are being met. Thank you, universe. And then just kick back and did you need it? Did you survive without it? Or did you have everything that you needed, right? Because abundance, it will come to you in so many different ways. And like even whenever your bank account gets super low, if you need it, then all of a sudden, bam, the money will just be there exactly when you need it the most. So when you start to come into the heart and you just start to be grateful, you don't need to have millions of dollars in your bank account to win the game. You just need to be happy and you need to have your needs be met. And then you need to follow your highest passion. When you start to do that in the beginning levels of manifestation, then it expands. And it also expands your location ring. It also expands your friend circle. It also expands the type of items that you physically interact with inside of the home. And so what that basically means is you get leveled up, but it's a baby step process. You have to be okay with going through the tiny levels that we go through. These are tiny bricks of consciousness. If you don't go without, then you'll never learn the ultimate trust and faith to allow that abundance to just flow down on you. And then you start reaching a really high level. And when the abundance overflows at you, it's like your cup of love gets filled up. Well, what happens next? You want to share with everybody else. And then that's what we do. We start teaching other people, hey, this is what I did. This is how I got out of my hole, right? I was a cripple. TikTok, you guys don't know this. I was a cripple for about 12 years. I couldn't even walk. It was a nightmare. And then all of a sudden I healed all my pain in about 2.5 weeks. So we have these great abilities to go inside and change our frequency and really fall in love with life again. And when we do that, then all of a sudden everything in our life will change. Did I publish my book yet? No. It's there. I just have to get it edited and send it off to Amazon. But it's basically all done. It's coming very soon. So everybody on TikTok, you guys don't know, I did write a whole bunch of posts. There's over like 500 posts. And so we did put them all into one book. And we are going to be sending them over to Amazon so that everyone can get a copy. It's amazing. Okay, so the next question, reflections in people, places, and things, and big reflections into the civilizations. We had already tapped into that a tiny bit. Reflections is very important because anytime that you're having an interaction with any person in your life, any person at all, the words that are coming out of their mouth is a reflection of something that you personally need to hear to allow you to grow and evolve. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's because we need to learn how to place boundary rings, which is okay too. When people talk down to us or they push us around or they make us feel out of control, that's because the universe is giving you an opportunity to place a boundary ring, right? Don't talk to me like that. When you step into your power, you step into your boundaries, and then you know that you can handle your own. So, but the reflections come in many, many different forms, and it comes in opportunities as well. We should always place focus and attention on love and care and kindness to all people, because you guys, we don't know who's who. A lot of times the extraterrestrials, they can project their consciousness into people's bodies. And so I know this because I have my starman, and my starman is, him and I are very one-on-one, and we talk and communicate all day long. And so the things that he can do, he can actually push his consciousness into my body. He can move my arms and legs. He can make me sneeze. It's wild and amazing. But that right there is a sign that you don't ever know who exactly you're talking to. Because if the extraterrestrials have the psionic abilities activated, and I'm telling you, a lot of them do. It's a lot of them do. That's like a natural stage in evolution where your psionic abilities become activated. So that there tells us that we don't know who we're talking to. We don't know if there's a passenger in the psionic ability. So when we start, and I think certain ancient texts even tells us that, you never know when there's an angel in a human form. So whenever we see people, we should always, always come back inside and treat them with the way that we want to be treated, with love and care and kindness and respect. So it's wonderful. Now, when we see the reflections in people, it's absolutely amazing, because we can start to see civilization reflections. And so this civilization reflections also goes by your biological codex frequency, the star people are saying. So the actual frequency that your body is holding becomes reflected outward, and then it starts to have an impact or an effect on the entire civilization. So that entire civilization, then in turn, you're going to start to see things that is reflected of a frequency that's inside of you. And so there's tons of examples to this, but all of my examples are okay. Next question. 12 different expressions of each experience and the crown chakra viewpoint of each 6 chakra lenses. So your crown chakra is right here. It flowers open, and then it has a lens structure. So your consciousness can actually activate your lens into each one of the chakra systems. So when your lens is focused in the heart, you're normally focused on love or love-based emotions. That's wonderful. So when your lens is focused on, say, the root chakra, or even the civilization lens, because it's all inside of each individual consciousness unit, which is what the star people calls each person. We are a consciousness stream of unit, or consciousness unit stream. So when we start to recognize that, it allows us to try and make adjustments into where the focus is going. So if your focus is on your basic primal needs, that means that your lens in the root chakra is actually open, and that's where the consciousness is flowing out of primarily. So if your focus, of course, you can't just adjust the lens and go up. It is a baby step process, because you have to master the lower chakras, and then the upper ones will unlock. Many times the star people are saying right now, the upper 3 chakras will be fully locked until the consciousness is ready to be at a certain degree or a certain level. Now, when we start to recognize a civilization works the same exact way, it's just a collective consciousness. So each one of us is tuning in depending on our frequencies and our perceptions. So we are living in a multiverse, and then we shift into parallel realities in which we collectively manifest different experientials, is what the star people are saying. So when we start to see the civilization being primarily focused in like the root chakra, well, that happened in 2020. Everyone was focused on the basics, the needs, the survival. And then it moved up, and then the civilization, I believe last summer, it moved up to the sacral. And so it was more focused on relationships and getting back into, the communication with the community and all of that stuff, right? And now we're starting to see it move up once more into the solar plexus, When it moves into the solar plexus, then people are creating, which is what we're seeing now reflected into the hologram. Now, this is wonderful because if you know where the focus is, you can try and coax your creative abilities to come into a higher brick of consciousness. Now, I want each and every one of you guys to see. We have different bricks of consciousness. This is what the star people call it. This brick of consciousness is filled with these different key experiences. Each person has to go through these exact experiences because it's part of the collective manifestation. The way that you go through them and how fast you go through them is completely up to you. Now, if you heal all the stuff in there, it allows you to rise into the next brick of consciousness. That next brick of consciousness is going to include a whole new series of things or challenges to overcome. Now, one such example of this would be, let's say you had something that needs to be healed. And so you, in your mind, you probably told yourself a million times, I'll be happy if this was healed, right? Well, what happens? Time goes by, this thing gets healed, and then all of a sudden, wham, something else is upon you. That's because what you did was you just raised into the next brick of consciousness, where there's a whole new series of different challenges to overcome. This is how we evolve the consciousness slipstream. So when we recognize this, we can start to go inside, and it's like, okay, I have peace in the now moment because whatever experiences are going to come to me, I'm going to handle them as they come, and I'm just going to be happy. The second that you're happy and you're okay with whatever, and it doesn't matter the trials and tribulations that come up, just be happy going through them and be happy in this moment. It actually unlocks the energetics and allows you to heal much quickly. Okay. Density and motion. So motion is directly connected into space. Space is directly connected into time. So when we talk about density, when we are evolving into 5D frequencies, it's actually the density level that counts. It's not really the frequency level, it's a density, because we are dealing in the physical body. The physicality of the body is dense in its nature. And so what that shows us is that when we raise our biological frequency, we become lighter. That means that we have raised our density to a more crystalline nature, the star people are saying. So when we start to recognize this, that means that we can do certain things to raise our frequency, and we can, and it's like a whole healing journey that we go through. But when we are holding density, let's say someone's really sad or upset, or let's say, for an example, you guys get sick, and then all of a sudden the universe puts you in bed for a week. So that motion, that space of you moving around in different locations, it goes right down in the energetics, and the density is so low that it slows down your frequency so that you can't really move. That's how this works. So if you guys know someone that doesn't leave their house at all, let's say they just hermit mode, that basically is an indication that their fight or flight systems are turned on and that they need help being coaxed out. So when they need help, it's okay to try and get them out, ground them onto the grass, surround them with crystals, right? Try and make them laugh. And then all of a sudden, when their frequency raises to a certain degree, they're going to start to go into public again. That's the way the system works. It's important to understand how the system works because the universe and life is going to put us in different places at different times. So you could be extremely high frequency and then wham, you can get sick. And then all of a sudden your density and motion kicks in and you're back in bed. It happens. Now we go through these cycle repeats. So we go through a spiritual week, and then we go through a physical week. And it's kind of like a frequency bandwidth. So the frequency goes up and then the frequency goes down. It has to be of equal proportions. So the level, imagine drawing a middle line. Imagine drawing a middle line directly in half of this. Now, each and every week, the spiritual weeks, you may notice that all your manifestations are coming quicker. On a physically focused week, then you notice that you're doing things like cleaning up, paying bills. You're more physically focused. Maybe you get a haircut, did your nails, whatever the situation is. That's wonderful. The way this process works is with the solar energetic system. So the different solar rays that are coming from the sun actually has an effect on the consciousness of all people. And so that effect on the consciousness allows us to see that we are not alone and we're going through this process and everyone is connected. And then all of a sudden, Mother Earth's consciousness is also raising. So we do have extrasensory abilities. Those extrasensory abilities allows us to cast. Now, energetic casting is of high value to each and every one of us, because when we do things like drop into meditations, we're actually able to cast the energetics down into the earth, which then in turn we can call forward a vortex energetic, which will raise the location frequency. And when we start to do things like this and raising the location frequency, it'll actually have an impact on all of the consciousness of all the people in that location. Now, this can and will bring world peace, because the second that we fully understand this concept, we don't even need everyone to understand how to do it. We just need people to drop into meditation and just imagine loving the earth, because that alone is going to naturally generate this vortex energetic. Now, the pyramids also work with vortexes. And so that shape of the pyramid, it naturally draws the earth's frequency up, and then it projects it and it casts it directly up. So certain pyramids on our planet were actually built in alignment according to the position of the stars during that day and age. It was casting the earth frequency of the human consciousness to different planets. And then that planet would have a pyramid to absorb the frequency during certain solar alignments, the star people are saying. Now, this is important because the second that we realize, okay, the shape alone of the pyramid is very strong, it's going to allow us the ability to generate vortexes and to truly allow us to raise the frequency. We can start doing things like generating our own food. And our own food will start growing 10 times the size because we're utilizing a pyramid shape. Now, copper tubing works wonders when we're doing pyramid shapes. You guys can even make it into like a shape of a greenhouse. So do the pyramid, and then you could put up like your plexiglass. That's fine too. And then just watch. Now, for the stay-at-home moms watching, you can make a pyramid shape out of cardboard. When you make it out of cardboard, you leave your bananas inside of it, and you just take note, how long did the bananas last for? If the bananas lasted an extended period of time compared to the normal ones, then you've just proved to yourself that, yes, I can do this with a piece of cardboard and it's going to make my food last longer. Then it begs to question, do we actually need a refrigerator? Or should we be eating the raw produce and putting it in the pyramid shapes all over the place using copper and crystals? Right? So when we start to ask ourselves these questions, it's going to change our behavior patterns. This is very important because it's knowledge, and knowledge is power. And if we don't need to rely on electricity, if we can go back to different modalities and we can allow ether-based technologies, as star people are calling it, to come into play, it will then in turn allow us to utilize things that are not that don't require a bill, basically. So hi, welcome, Paige. Excellent. Can we create our own vortexes? Absolutely. So our own vortexes can be created in a multitude of ways. Let me just say, okay, perfect. So creating a vortex is very simple. And I do this constantly. I go out, you don't even have to physically touch the earth. You can rub your hands, get them nice and warm, because that actually generates a chi energetic system, start to amplify. I normally do 3 claps because it generates, once again, we could see that electrical charge happen. And then I just energetically cast, I love and bless you, earth. And then I visualize, I come inside, I see it, I sense it. Sometimes you sit here long enough, you can feel the energy start to vortex around your body. You'll feel it. What this feels like is, imagine you took your hands next to your face. You feel that heat, that tingle. That's what an energetic vortex is going to feel like. Now, when we start to come inside the physical form and we start to utilize the energy work, then all of a sudden it allows us to be able to broadcast our energetic grid structure further. Now, when we do that, we can actually preset the magnetism of the grids to allow for, let's say, for an example, anybody who comes into my grids will be healed. Simple. You believe it's going to happen. And so you're magnetically shifting your energy. You're allowed to, we all are. When you're really happy, you're shifting your energy. When you're really sad, you're shifting your energy. So we know scientifically that we can consciously direct our energy field by your emotions and by your intentions. Now, it is just like a crystal. We can take any action, any program, and we can tell the crystal, thank you, crystal, for raising my frequency and healing my body. So right then and there, if you hook this crystal up to a computer, you're going to see a little bloop on the graph, and you're going to know that this crystal has now accepted your program. Now, what happens is when we hold on to this crystal, it is radiating that magnetism or that emotion which you just programmed into it. And so what that's going to do is over time, and it only takes 1 minute to fully absorb the magnetism from a crystal. I know this for a fact. I've felt it before. So when we know this, we can change our magnetism for 1 minute of holding a crystal. Then it gives us the ability to start casting our manifestations into the crystal and using it like a free pass to change our magnetism to allow us to magnetize whatever manifestation we see fit. So we should always try and do certain manifestations for service to the collective. Because when you start to do things like this, thank you for healing all the people around me, because it's energetically casting outward. You're not casting inside the body. Casting inside the body is more service to self. We have to master that as well, the star people are saying, but it is very important for us to recognize casting outward and helping outward will always make it more rapidly manifest for all people involved. This is wonderful. Okay. Location codes. Now, location codes are key, because if we are in a toxic location, then all of a sudden that toxic location is going to have such an impact on the body where it can cripple a person, to be honest with you guys. And so when we recognize how absolutely important a location is, does it make you feel good being in the location that you guys are currently in? If you don't feel good, if you don't feel happy or vibrant or like you can create, if you don't feel that, then either you have to change the location code or you have to put the work in and change your home. Either way, well, I had to do this too. Now, a sign that we are focused in the root chakra is an overabundance of stuff, and then it's mismanaged. And so you may have too much stuff in the home. And what happens is, I want each and every one of you guys to recognize each item that we have contains a frequency. And so when we have too many items, and this is another reason why I started the crystal program, because I felt like I had too many crystals and it was too much energy in my space. And so I started gifting them out to people. When we start to recognize, and this doesn't only have to be crystals, it could be notebooks, pens, stuff from your past. How did you feel when you were a teenager and you wrote in that journal? If you were getting all your anger out, burn the book. You don't need to hold it anymore. It's okay to release it, because all experiences are in your memory grid complex. Your memory grid complex starts to store all of the information. Now, when I went through and did my shadow work with the star people, they were actually able to pull at my memory grids, and I saw a whole visual. So each and every memory, it went through bit by bit by bit, and we were actually able to start doing the shadow work to release all the emotions and the traumas from my memory. Now, that's that. It's wonderful. The 0 point and manifestations. So this one is amazing because we have something known as the 0 point inside of the heart chakra. And so that 0 point is actually connected into the higher self. So it is actually above time and space. It is something that we can drop into. It's a place of neutrality. So anytime you hear neutrality, you know that you're in the 0 point. Time and space doesn't really flow here. You're able to download higher frequential access codes inside the 0 point. You're also able to cast or project your manifestations to the higher self in the 0 point. So that 0 point is very, very important, because this is how we don't necessarily have to try and manifest things by like writing it down and then following step by step by step. We don't have to do any of that stuff. What we just have to do is we have to drop into the heart and then tell the higher self, this is what I want to experience. The higher self, the second that you fully drop into that 0 point, the higher self is going to have full eyes on you, because that 0 point, that's how the higher self knows you're becoming spiritually aware and conscious. Now, there's different techniques that allow you to fire up or open the flower inside of the heart chakra. This is very, very important, because when we allow the higher self to take the seat inside the heart chakra, it's the seat of the souls, what the star people are calling it. We allow that flowering to flower open. She's automatically going to put you on the highest potential timeline available to manifest. So we just ever so gracefully allow. Now, you have to be very service to the collective. You have to be open-hearted. You have to love yourself. You have to love everything outside of you. And then all of a sudden, you'll actually feel it. And it feels like fingers open up like this. It feels like the fingers open like that. That's what it feels like. And so, but the second you do that, it's like, now we want to take the next step. We want to figure out or work on opening up the pineal gland. So there's different types of breath work meditations that will coax open the pineal gland. There's wonderful, wonderful ones where we are pulling cerebral spinal cord fluid up the spine, which then in turn generates a piezoelectric effect that starts to tune into the pineal gland, generating an electrical spark, and it opens the pineal gland so it gives us access into the astral realm. You should open your heart chakra and flower that open first before accessing the astral realms, because the second that the higher self is fully inside of your ego body, that's what happens when the flower in the heart is open. She'll automatically, or he or it, because it's a soul, it's a spirit, will automatically protect you in the astral realms. We have to realize we have different abilities. We have the dream walker ability. That's the ability to go inside of your dreams and program what it is that you want to manifest into the physical reality. Once again, this works instantaneously through adjustments in your magnetism. And so that adjustment in the magnetism is going to give you this manifestation. Now, when you do it in your dreams, that magnetism can shift very strong overnight, and then you're going to start to see the reflections in the hologram. This gets serious, because if we have like nightmares and dreams, what are they doing to our magnetism? So anytime you guys have a nightmare, you should always drop in a meditation first time in the morning, go through all the chakras, go through the 3 degrees inside of the energetic grids, and start to re-encode everything back to a positive polarity. Right? You can also do manifestations like, thank you, higher self, for protecting me, keeping me safe, whatever it is that you guys feel like you need to speak to the higher self. Now, there's also information out there that we shouldn't really be asking for protection, because then you're going to manifest needing such protection. It's okay to do it once in a while, because sometimes it actually helps. But sometimes it may be more beneficial, the star people are saying, to just ever so gently allow the higher self, or tell the higher self, thank you for putting me on my most exciting and fun timeline, because that is not something that you're going to need protection for. Instead, that's going to be something that you're going to have so much fun throughout the day. So when we start to make this a manifestation every single morning, you wake up in the morning, even if it's a crummy day, and speak the words, thank you, today's the best day ever, right? And just keep going like that. And it doesn't matter what happens in your day, because there's going to be trials and tribulations. But the second that today is the best day ever, and you keep doing that over and over again, then all of a sudden, you also want to set a little competition with yourself. So let's say if you're going for a walk, set it so when your watch pings at 1 mile, right, you do a yay, because you're firing off a congratulations emotion. When you win $1 on a scratch off, yay, right? Throw your hands in the air. Feel that emotion. Get your, when you start to change your body patterns too, this is really important, because your body expression is changing the emotions that you have running. So when you take a look at the neurology inside of the physical form, if you, let's say you held the Superman pose, you put your hands to your hips, you puffed your chest out. If you hold that for about 2 minutes, your brain starts to release hormones. Your body starts to feel amazing. You start to feel like Superman. That's why that pose is associated with that. It's an emotional expression. So if you guys ever do research on like Qigong or any of that, it's energy movement. We can move the energy inside of our physical form all over the place. We can cast love and light back inside the physical form, or we can trick the body into holding different emotion codes depending on our body stances. This is also how yoga works. So when you do different body stretches, it's actually activating different emotions. Now, the energetic grids automatically have different emotions that cause blockages in different layers as well as levels. So, for example, you may have a blockage in the root chakra, and that it's a grid. It goes around the entire body. And so that density and darkness could go up the grid, it could go off to the side, and then all of a sudden you may have an issue in your toe, you may have an issue in your ear, you may have an issue in your eyes, maybe you wear the glasses, right? And that could all be from one root chakra. Then you move up in your focus. Now we take a look at the heart chakra. That heart chakra, it could be tuned into the orange chakra, the sacral, which deals with relationships as well as your fears. So any fears, this is why we have to use the bathroom when we get scared. It triggers the kidneys, the bladders, the urinary tract system, all this stuff. And so we can recognize a heart trauma blockage can cause a distortion in the sacral chakra, which is caused by fears. Right? So it's all connected. It's all one energy grid. It's interwoven, the star people are saying. Can we ask the star people to assist with the higher self sitting in and opening the chakras? Absolutely. They actually know who every single person is who watches my videos, and they know you guys very intimately. And so what they do is they assign everybody a rep. So that's why I tell everyone on basically every live, go talk to the rep, go talk to them. So start asking them questions, listen to your mind. They'll also work with the signs and synchronicities. So they're going to guide you, but they're not going to do it in such a way where it's going to generate fear. So they're going to kind of work from behind the scenes. Now, and they love when people do shadow work because they will sit down and they will do the shadow work with you. They will help you. You'll feel them triggering different memories, different emotions. I actually do attachment sessions with people. So attachments are energetic entities which drain our energy field. They feed off of us. And so there's a whole range of emotion codes. And so the star people come in and they start, going through the emotion codes and discharging them. Many of you guys have had that with me already. So it's a very clean, energetic feeling after you do one. It's amazing. Now, and I also offer ascension sessions. So your star family comes in, and then we learn which attunements you guys have. So which attunements to extrasensory abilities that you have a potential to manifest or really put your focus on and allow it to really amplify it. So yeah, they're definitely ready, willing, and able to help and assist each and every one of us. So it's beautiful. Okay, let's see, 7:48. We have a little bit of time. Does anybody have any questions? Just put some crystals near my dog to help him feel better. That's perfect. Perfect. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Magnetic attunements at birth. And so this is very, very important because some life events have been magnetically encoded into your energetic grids from the time of birth. I know this one for a solid fact as well. So when we start to realize that we are energetically encoded from the time of birth, that draws a whole slew of questions. Why did I have this magnetic inside of my grid? Because when I was a child, all the people around me sensed one of my experientials. And they sensed it, and I was like, no, you guys are crazy. People also told me when I was a child, oh, you're going to write a book. So they knew before me. And I was like, you're crazy. I don't like to write. And then all of a sudden, here it is so many years later, and I just wrote a book. So we have different things that are pre-programmed according to your past life, your future life, what the higher self programmed into your energetics at the time of birth so that you can have this particular experience. So when we start to recognize that, we are powerful because we can actually drop into that 0 point and we can cast back up at the higher self, and we can then allow different magnetisms to override the system. Now, just imagine for 1 second, we are flipping through billions of it's like a timeline shift, billions of times per heartbeat. It's not even per second, it's per heartbeat, because your heartbeat changes time and space. So the second that we can fully recognize, okay, well, my heartbeat is actually controlling the outer reality that I see, it allows us to really change or modify not only the magnetism, but the current energetics. So by closing your eyes and dropping into a visualization, this is also how instantaneous teleportation gets manifested. We do, each and every one of us, we instantaneously teleport constantly, all the time. We just don't realize we're doing it. So if you have a pen over here, and then you take that pen and you move the pen over here, it has a different location code. It's a completely different pen in a holographic simulation. And so the way that this works is like this. This pen over here, it has a binary codex frequency, it has an experiential frequency, and it has a location code. The second that you change or modify any of the three, it's a totally different pen. This is how the extraterrestrials' replicator technologies work. So their replicator technologies, it takes 3 different frequencies to generate. Now think about a hologram. In the hologram, everyone always tells you you need 3 different light sources to reflect it downward to allow the hologram to fully manifest into the physical reality. Now, the way the higher self, the soul, works, it's taking the same 3 frequencies the star people showed me. It's in the form of a triangle. So you have your binary codex frequency, experiential, and your location code. That's 3 different frequencies, but it's tiny. It's really tiny. And then it vortexes down. So what do we see? We see a tube, but it's actually a triangle structure inside of a circle coming down, and it comes right down the center Kundalini channel inside of your body. And then that center Kundalini channel is made of light. And then that's surrounded by a dark matter Kundalini channel, because light and darkness is one and the same, and we are connected to everything. So we can't judge the darkness. We have to hold neutrality, or you don't have to, but you should. Now, when we start to realize this center light channel comes down, it broadcasts a frequency out of our physical form, circular, in a big circle. And then all of a sudden, when it comes back in like a ripple, it starts to form a sacred geometric snowflake. This is how the physical reality becomes solid and manifest, is by this frequency. And this is why when we take a look at people who do music, they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down this way, because the frequency is coming up, it's radiating down, and then it's coming in. That's how all frequency works when we're talking about adjustments from the higher self dropping into the 3D reality. Now, once again, there's different levels of consciousness, so this process works the same for all on this planet. The star people are making a point to say that, because different species, he's showing me it's like a being made out of fog. Their frequency is different, and it doesn't necessarily have that triangle. It has something else that we wouldn't kind of understand, but he's saying it's more circular in its nature. So, but the way of being a physical form in the 3D world on Earth, it's this triangle coming down a vortex energetic. That's how your soul works. Now, the second that we know this, we can start to see it as a light tube. And so, but everything in the reality has this form of a light tube that we see in this world. So when we know this, now we can start to pull apart the frequency using our consciousness. And so let's say, for an example, the binary codex frequency of this pen is blue. And so if I wanted to change the pen, I would have to drop into a meditation, and I would have to actually do like a commandment, like you're commanding into a computer system, command prompt. This is the original DOS system. Everything used to have a command prompt. So you would go into the command prompt of the pen and command it to be a different color. See it, sense it. How does it make you feel? Your feelings, your emotions is key for everything. Because the second that you understand everything that you feel is going to affect your manifestation of everything in your life. So whether it be the pen, whether it be your home, whether it be your car, right? When we start to cast love at all of the stuff in our lives, it starts to raise the frequency of everything in our life. And then that process of coming down and radiating out, it starts to raise the frequency of everything. So you're going to start to notice that things drop away. And that's okay too. Because let's say, for an example, if I raise my frequency, and this pen is no longer in alignment with that high frequency that I'm holding, what happens? Now, all of a sudden, I may be drawn with my intuition to do things like buy an expensive pen and only use a really expensive pen, and then take these pens and go throw them somewhere, right? They're in a junk drawer, or even just get rid of them altogether. This is what happens. Now, we do this process naturally, because think about what happens when we start to get healthy. Your body naturally starts to crave eating salads. So we always want to pay attention to our behaviors. What are you guys craving? What do you do every day? What's positive behaviors? What do you have that's negative behavior patterns? Are you doing anything on repeat every single day? So things like drinking coffee every single day, we want to always have a look at that coffee, and we want to see, am I doing it every day? Can I live without it? If I can live without it, that's more power to you. But if it has its hooks in you and you're stuck and you have to drink it every single day, then all of a sudden it becomes an attachment. That attachment, 10 times out of 10, the star people are saying, always has an energetic attachment latched on, which that attachment pushes a headache. It pushes thoughts. It pushes a hangover. It pushes emotion codes into us to trigger us into dealing or getting that coffee or having that cigarette, right? Because the attachments trigger us to want to engage in these different things. So this is the way the system works. It's quite beautiful when you think about it. But the second that we start to overcome it, we truly step into our power. Because now all of a sudden, you're not going to allow any item in the physical world to have any power over you. You're going to live by your heart. You're going to express love and light. And you're really going to shine the brightest, because now you're the one in control. And so this is what I teach. I teach people how to take control of their simulations. Take control of your life. Heal yourself. You're sick? There's a billion ways to heal sickness. We could deal with it in the energetics. We could deal with it in the physical world. You can utilize plants. You can utilize yoga. And usually what we do is we do a combination of everything. Okay. Can you ask the star people if something immense is going to happen? So the star people, they usually talk about activating extrasensory abilities and stepping into our own power. The reason that they do this specifically is because they don't want to get involved in the politics, because they understand each and every one of us is actually in our own timeline bubble. And that timeline bubble means that my manifestations, even though we're in a collective in the now moment, my past can be totally different than yours. And so you guys can remember, this is also called the Mandela effect. And so we take a look at like the Bernstein Bears or the Bernstein Bears, right? If you look up that book, it's spelt two different ways. Half of the people remember it one way, half of the people remember it the other way. Space Jam is another movie. That's another Mandela effect. And so what this shows us is that each and every one of us is running our own individualized simulation, which is wonderful. However, in the now moment, there's a collective consciousness in play too. So when you guys ask the star people to tell you what's going to happen, they're like, well, you're in a different consciousness grid bubble than, say, me. Because if I'm all focused on love and light, my potentials are going to be totally different compared to you. Now, that being said, we do look at bigger civilization manifestations, and we can look at science. And the star people do say that that sun looks white. And so we are waiting on a solar flash. It's very clear to see. Anybody can see it. But think about the people who are very physically focused. And this is what the star people are saying now. The very physically focused people, they might not even be aware that the sun was ever yellow, because in their reality, it may have always looked white. And so they're going to shift into a 3D world. We're going to shift into a 5D world, because this is where our consciousness is heading. Now, we don't see them dropping out of our lives. We're not going to see that, because the way the human consciousness works is when we make a vibrational shift, the entire collective is eventually going to frequency match to us. And so what we're going to see is the 100 monkey effect kicks in. And the 100 monkey effect basically shows us when enough of the human collective consciousness learns a certain behavior or a certain knowledge, all of a sudden, all of the people start to pick up to that knowledge very rapidly. And so what we're going to see is we're going to see like heaven manifest, right? Where there's peace and love and joy and bliss amongst the entire planet. So that is wonderful and beautiful. So anybody who wants to do a private session with me, you guys can very easily go to daniellelipton.com. I believe TikTok, my link's in my bio. Everyone else, you guys should see it on your screen, DanielleLipton.com. And so we do offer one-on-one sessions. Tomorrow's Friday. So we are doing the attachment masterclass at 6 p.m. tomorrow, which will be very, very interesting. There are a couple seats left, so space is limited. Now, that class, it usually goes, I have it listed for an hour, but it usually runs well over an hour because there's just so much information about attachments, how to clear them. If you guys are healers, this is a great opportunity to gain knowledge, because the second you know how to do this, it's very extensive. You can do some serious healing on people when we know properly how to remove the attachments. Not only that, but the star people watch you guys, and so they'll also help you to clear the attachments and to keep your own biologics higher frequency. So that's beautiful. TikTok, you guys are new. I do also do a shadow work Zoom. It's completely complimentary. Everybody comes. And so that starts at 8:30 tonight. I usually go live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7. So 7 to 8 is a live. At 8:30, we start a Zoom. It's a shadow work Zoom. Anybody who wants to come, just go to DanielleLipton.com. Send me a message. I will send you the link absolutely free. So this is something we like to do as a group, as a community, to build a tribe. And so we heal together, and we generate love, and we turn into like a family by being together and really supporting each other in our healing. So the more love and compassion you pour out there, the more all of a sudden it starts to reflect. So when you do good stuff for a person, someone else may see it, and then all of a sudden they're doing good stuff. And so that's what we do. Is there anything we can do before the session starts tomorrow, before the attachment session? Well, yeah, come to the shadow work tonight, right? And so we work with the attachments as a baby step process. I do offer attachment sessions. It's very extensive. It's like for an hour. Sometimes it goes for 2. And so we sit there and we get through all the emotions. We rip off all of the attachments. The star people utilize technology. You can feel the technology the star people utilize. A lot of the times it feels like bump, 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 bump. And so they're ricocheting technology through the different chakras. Sometimes they trigger your emotions, they trigger your memories. There's all sorts of amazing things that happen. Sometimes you'll feel an attachment be pulled off of you. So I tell people not to panic. It's okay. We just discharge them and tell them to go home. So it's wonderful. Now, the attachment masterclass, we do not record, because the star people told me the attachment information is very, it's lower frequency information because it's an attachment. And so they don't want any of that recorded, because when the attachment names come, they get ingrained. So the only way to get the information right now is to wait for my book or come into the attachment class. So that's tomorrow, 6 p.m. Yes, thank you, Nancy. Welcome for coming. Excellent, guys. I love my Facebook people. You guys are amazing. And actually, thank you guys so incredibly much for coming and for being part of my tribe, and just for being really happy and just being here. Thank you. You guys have many, many love and blessings, and I will see you all at the Shadow Work Zoom at 8:30. Okay. You have a wonderful night.